Let's go ahead and move to public comments.
We've got a stack of them.
Can you hand them to the city clerk, please? Thank you. In any order? Or
I gave them in order.
okay, great.
Go ahead.
Do you want to call? Use
I can call them.
You want to
Thank
call
you.
from the
Yeah.
speaker cards?
Okay, Weiling?
Hi, my name is Weiling Huber, and I'm the president of Unite Here Local 2850. Thank you, Mayor Asher, City Council, for this time. We represent the workers at the Hilton Garden Inn, at the Hyatt House in Emeryville, and at the Oaks Corner and Club. As you know, we supported the workers of the former Woodfin Suites in their long and bitter struggle to enforce their rights under Measure C, where although dozens of immigrant workers were fired in retaliation for standing up for their rights, we didn't give up. We backed them all the way. We organized countless picket lines, demonstrations, and even civil disobedience actions in which 38 people were arrested for blocking traffic in front of the hotel. The boycott cost the hotel huge sums of money, which of course impacted the TOT tax that was available to the city to fund public services. That story did, however, have a happy ending, because shortly after the hotel changed the ownership and became the Hyatt House, Unite Here reached an agreement with the Hyatt that allowed the workers to join the union without fear of retaliation through a neutrality agreement. Now we're negotiating a first union contract, and we're even making progress towards reaching an agreement that will work for everyone. Even without a contract, though, workers have seen improvements because we've been able to work collaboratively with the hotel management to solve problems. Unfortunately, the Woodfin story is far more common than the Hyatt House story. When hotel workers and other low-wage workers try to organize for a better life, more often than not, the owners and management of the hotel put up a huge, vicious fight. They bring in lawyers, force workers to sit through meetings to convince them that they actually don't want to stand up and they don't want to make improvements in their life. As we showed during the Woodfin fight, Local 2850 believes in doing whatever it takes for as long as it takes to win justice for workers. However, that is not the right way for this process to take. The right way is to establish clear expectations from the beginning, even before a hotel is built sometimes, to make sure that there's a fair, smooth process for organizing like the one that took place recently at the Hyatt House. And without that clear, written, signed agreement that's enforceable, there is more often than not labor disputes. So, we ask you to do everything in your power as more hotels get developed in this city and throughout the East Bay to continue to make sure that there isn't another fight like Woodfin in Emeryville. And we would like to continue working collaboratively to you to make sure that Emeryville continues to have more good, sustaining, family-supporting jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Xiomara Diaz Salazar.
Why don't you call three at a time so they can...
And after that, Maria Aguilar, please.
Por intérprete.
So she could just be ready.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Xiomara Díaz Salazar y yo trabajé en el 2001 en el Goofy y nos daban...
Good evening, my name is Xiomara, and I worked beginning in 2001 in the Woodfin.
Y nos daban 17 suites por 8 horas. Saquen la cuenta cuánto nosotros teníamos que esmerarlo para sacar ese trabajo que hacíamos.
So they used to make us clean 17 suites in an 8-hour shift, and you can do the math for yourself to think about how crazy of a workload that is.
Y entonces yo me preguntaba y decía, ¿por qué será que nosotros trabajamos demasiado y poco dinero? Y el esfuerzo que hacíamos y nos trataban mal, y entonces decía yo, ay, ojalá que haya alguna compañera o compañero que hable por nosotros para que miren la injusticia que pasamos.
So I would ask myself why it was this way, why we were having to exert ourselves so much for so little money and then to be treated disrespectfully on top of it. And so I was hoping that one of my coworkers or someone would come along to help us.
Y entonces las compañeras que ellas querían hacer como los movimientos de antes de Martin Luther King y de Julio César Chávez antes para nuestros compañeros, ¿verdad? Lo que hacía el Goofy era que cuando ellos venían a hablar con otras personas más importantes para ver cómo estaba el trabajo de nosotros de pesado, ellos los botaban para afuera.
So when some of my coworkers wanted to start a movement, like in the old days of Martin Luther King and Cesar Chavez, they wanted to start a movement for justice, and how the hotel responded to that was by firing them.
Y hasta que hubo un día de que unas compañeras sí buscaron ayuda, ¿verdad? Y nosotros las apoyamos y fue cuando entró la medida C.
And so those coworkers went and sought help, and that was how Measure C was put into effect.
Y más sin embargo, los 5,000 pies que nos dan para hacer 9 suites y 2 cuartos tradicionales por 8 horas, no sacamos todavía el trabajo, los andamos esmerando todavía porque no agarramos los 20 minutos de break, a la carrera comemos la media hora de lunch y gracias a la unión que ellos nos está apoyando y queremos que ustedes también, el City Hall nos apoye para pues tener un trabajo justo, ¿no?
And so even with the 5,000 square foot limit for Measure C, it's still really hard work. Like we're still running around trying to clean 9 suites and then 2 regular rooms, and it's still really hard for us to get it all done and take our breaks. And so because we've been able to organize a union, things have gotten better. And so we want the city to support workers and make sure that they have the opportunity.
Y gracias pues que ahorita nos están respetando un poco, nos están...
Yeah.
Okay. Gracias.
Gracias.
So thanks to that, they're respecting us now a little more.
Okay, thank you. Maria Aguilar.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas
Mi
tardes.
nombre es María Aguilar. Gracias por la oportunidad que nos dan de podernos comunicar con ustedes.
So good evening, my name is Maria Aguilar, and thank you very much for the chance you've given us to communicate with you.
Soy una persona que tengo 7 años de trabajar en Wilfing. Hemos sufrido mucho en esa compañía, pero con la ayuda de ustedes logramos la medida C.
So I have been working at the Woodfin since 7 years ago, and we suffered a lot with that company, but thanks to the city of Emeryville, we were able to win our rights under Measure C.
Y tuvimos una oportunidad mejor a trabajar menos, que nos quitaran menos suite, pero de todas formas trabajábamos mucho y luego también con la ayuda de ustedes logramos tener un proceso justo y ahora estamos mejor, pero todavía tenemos exceso de trabajo.
So thanks to Measure C, we were able to get a better workload, and then we were able, with the help of some of you, to get a fair process to be able to organize a union. And so because of that, we're doing better now, although the work is still really hard.
Pero en estos días estamos discutiendo nuestro contrato y creo que todo va a ser mejor. Y quiero agradecerles a ustedes por toda la ayuda que nos han dado, porque desde que tenemos la unión hemos sido más felices, nos han respetado y nos sentimos mucho más cómodos.
So we're now negotiating our first contract, but we think things are going well. And since we have had a union, we've had more rights, we're treated with more respect, and we feel more comfortable on the job.
Y quiero tener la oportunidad de pedirles otro favor, que todo hotel que se construya en Emeryville tenga la oportunidad y un proceso justo. Gracias.
So we just want to ask you for another favor, which is to make sure that any new hotel that gets built in Emeryville has the same fair process to organize that we did. Thank you.
Gracias. Angélica Aranda y después Sara Marroquín.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Angélica Aranda. Yo entré a trabajar en el Hotel Wolfing en el 2008, entonces no tuve la mala experiencia porque cuando yo entré ya estaba la medida C.
I started working at the Woodfin in 2008, so I didn't have the same bad experiences as the others because when I came in, Measure C was already in effect.
Y también estoy acá para agradecer a todos ustedes porque cuando ya en Hyatt entró la unión, entonces hicieron firmamos unos papeles por la votación, que fue algo justo, fue muy bueno, fue todo con mucha educación, todo estuvo muy bien. Entonces, agradezco bastante a ustedes. Por medio de ustedes tenemos nosotros el respeto que siempre queríamos tener, el respeto.
So in the Hyatt, when we wanted to organize the union, it was a very smooth process. We all just went and voted, right? And the hotel agreed to respect that vote. And so there were no problems and there was no conflict about it. And so that has been very important to us.
Solo nuestro propósito de nosotros es que trabajamos muy fuerte, pues como trabajamos muy duro, muy fuerte también, merecemos respeto, y gracias a Unión y gracias a ustedes que nos están apoyando, pienso que por ustedes y por Unión nos están respetando, y le agradezco mucho, muy agradecido.
So I'm very appreciative of having a union. I'm very appreciative of you guys of the city of Emeryville, because we think now having a union, we're treated with more respect and we're better off.
Okay. Sarah Marqueen.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Sara Marroquín y estoy aquí primeramente para darle las gracias a todos ustedes que nos han apoyado en todas las cosas, porque yo he experimentado muchas experiencias terribles y también me ha costado aprender a hacer esos 11 cuartos que nos han dado. A veces hasta nos ha tocado que llorar, y yo le doy gracias a Dios por eso, porque por ustedes, verdad que estamos luchando por algo justo para nosotros. Y también quiero decir... ¿Ah?
Déjame
En inglés.
Okay, I'm not sure I'm going to remember all that. She said, I want to thank all of you, because I've lived through a lot of bad experiences with jobs, and it was very hard for me to learn to do even the 11 rooms that we're doing now. Sometimes I would start crying. It's a really heavy workload, but we're really appreciative of having our rights respected.
También quiero decir de que nosotros no tuvimos ningún problema en las votaciones, todas nos pusimos de acuerdo y todas firmamos por nuestro propio gusto. Quiero decir que nadie nos obligó, sino que nosotros mismas, para buscar un proceso justo para nosotros. Y quiero darle las gracias a todos, y esto es todo. Muchas gracias.
So I also wanted to tell you that the process of voting to form a union was very smooth for us. We didn't have any problems. No one was trying to obligate us, right? We just all made the decision, and we all signed what we wanted, because there was no one pressuring us. We were able to exercise what we wanted, and so that worked well for us.
Gracias. Ana Alvarado.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Ana Alvarado, trabajo en Emeryville por 5 años.
So good evening, my name is Ana Alvarado, and I've been working in Emeryville for 5 years.
Quiero darle las gracias a ustedes, porque sin su ayuda, sin su esperanza, las cosas estuvieran peores.
So I want to thank all of you, because without your hope and without your support, things would be much worse.
Quiero decirles que a las cosas que hemos vivido, estamos ahora viviendo algo mejor todavía.
So I want to let you know that things have gotten better for us. We're living in a better situation now.
Todas mis compañeras están tan agradecidas con ustedes, porque son unas personas que de veramente nos han escuchado y nos han ayudado de corazón.
All my coworkers are really appreciative of you, because we know that you have really listened to us and helped us.
Quiero pedirles que cuando en Emeryville pueda hacer otro hotel, pues que tengan el proceso justo para el respeto que los merecemos como personas humanas que somos.
I want to ask you that when new hotels are built in Emeryville, that everyone would have the same fair process to organize that we did, so that they can be respected as human beings.
Porque por lo que se ve, ahora estamos un poco mejor, porque sí nos respetan y nos escuchan, ya no es como antes que no nos escuchaban.
Because we're better off now. It's not like before where they didn't respect us or listen to us.
Estoy muy agradecida con ustedes nuevamente, se lo vuelvo a decir de corazón, por todas mis compañeras del hotel de Hyatt de Emeryville. Que Dios me los bendiga, y estas son mis palabras, y muchas gracias.
So I wanted to thank you again from the bottom of my heart on behalf of myself and all my coworkers at the Hyatt. Good evening and thank you.
Gracias. Yolanda Carmona.
Hola, muy buenas noches. Mi nombre es Yolanda Carmona.
Good evening. My name is Yolanda Carmona.
Yo estoy trabajando hace 3 años en Hyatt.
I've been working at the Hyatt for the past 3 years.
Primero que nada, quiero agradecerles sus atenciones con nosotros y este es un día muy especial para nosotros porque contamos con la atención de las personas que creemos y queremos que nos hagan el favor de apoyarnos.
So we want to thank you for listening to us, and this is a really special opportunity for us to be able to talk directly to you, and we hope that you will listen and we can count on your support.
Afortunadamente nosotros ya tenemos un proceso justo con la unión. Nos costó poco trabajo porque Hyatt ya tenía un contrato a nivel nacional.
So we have been lucky to be able to have had a fair process to organize the union. It took us some work to get there because there was a national agreement with Hyatt.
Pero antes que esto sucediera, tuvimos que pasar por humillaciones, malos tratos, gritos y nos cortaron la libertad de expresión que en este país es libre.
But before that happened, we had to put up with a lot. We had to put up with humiliation, with being yelled at, being mistreated, and taking away our freedom of expression, which I think is a right in this country.
A mí me gustaría que en un futuro todos los hoteles que estuvieran cerca de nosotros o en todo el país que tuvieran una libertad de expresión, que tuvieran los derechos como nosotros, porque sería lo justo que ellos no batallen tanto como nosotros.
So it's my dream that in this city and actually all over the country, all workers would have a chance to express their opinions freely and that they wouldn't have to fight as hard as some of us have fought.
Les agradezco su atención y muchas gracias.
Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Elijah, and I can't read the last name. I'm sorry, it starts with a T.
Hello,
Hi.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Elijah Tai Kong. I'm a banquet captain at the Hilton Garden Inn in Emeryville. My wife, Shericel, also works there at the hotel. I study at UC Berkeley, and I'm grateful that we both have good jobs that enable us to pay rent and also live and work in the city of Emeryville. Recently, we just moved here about 2 years ago. We used to live in Oakland. But the rents and decent life in the area is getting more and more affordable, and I'm seeing a lot of friends and coworkers having to move out of the area, and that's distressing.
Yep.
Because this is important to me, I'm very involved in my union in order to preserve the good jobs that do exist in Emeryville. I'm a shop steward for my hotel, and I'm elected member of the executive board for Local 2850. During the fight for the Woodfin, my wife and I walked countless picket lines supporting the Woodfin workers. We brought over workers from our Hilton Garden Inn as well to support the workers at the Woodfin. We did this because it is the right thing to do for the Woodfin workers who needed better wages, affordable health care, a safe workload, and respect on the job. But we did it also because we know that other hotels in Emeryville pay a lot less than our collective bargaining agreement allows the Hilton Garden Inn to do. It would be great for other hotels in Emeryville to have decent standards and a future for families. It's not that it scares me, it troubles me to think that may not be affordable for us to live in the East Bay. I know many coworkers have moved outside. We have coworkers and managers even that commute from Sacramento, Tracy, and Modesto, an hour and a half, 2 hours away from their families each way. It's 4 hours.
Yeah.
Co-organized will continue to take to the streets again to support any workers at any hotel in the city of Emeryville that are fighting for good jobs. We will walk as many picket lines. We will door knock. But I don't believe that we should have to. I think that there is a simpler way. Workers should not have to go through what the Woodfin went through. I care enough about this community that I work and live in that I think it's fair that Emeryville to have that kind of conflict, or not to have that type of conflict and chaos ever again. Please do everything that you guys can and within your power to make any hotel that would like to organize and have a fair and peaceful process for a union established from the beginning so that nothing like the Woodfin never happens in our city again. Thank you.
Thank you. Justin Blake.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Mayor Asher. My name is Justin Blea. Thank you, City Council members, for your time this evening to speak to you. I work at the Hyatt House here in Emeryville, and let me tell you, it's been an interesting change to see what has become of when we've joined a union. Before we had a union, we've experienced a lot of problems there. I myself have only been there while it's been Hyatt. I haven't been there while it was a Woodfin, and I've still experienced problems where we had issues with health and safety. We've had issues with disrespect. We've had issues with racism and favoritism, still without a union. But now that we're negotiating our first contract, I hope we'll be able to resolve some of those issues and move forward. Still, even with the great work that you've done with Measure C, it is still getting very hard to afford rent in Oakland and the East Bay. I myself used to be able to afford rent in Emeryville back in 2009, but presently I don't have a home. I am staying with friends because that's what I can afford to do. So thank you for the support that you have done. It's giving me a pathway to now that when we secure a good contract, I will be able to hopefully look into affording rent in Emeryville and live in the city that I love, in the city that I work in. And we were able to do that because we had a fair process to do it. We were able to do that because there was an agreement through Measure C and also with Hyatt at the national level that gave us the leverage to raise our voices and get what we need and what we want. So I thank you very much for doing that, and it is making real changes, and the push for those changes is still happening. But I hope that any hotels that are built in the future in the city of Emeryville will allow for that kind of process for people to be able to stand up for what their rights are and stand up for what they need so they can have a decent quality of life in a beautiful town. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Jennifer Lynn.
Good evening, council members, mayor. My name is Jennifer Lynn. I'm with the East Bay Alliance for Sustainable Economy. We're a nonprofit community-based organization that's committed to creating a just economy here in the East Bay based on good jobs and healthy communities. So I was on staff when the Woodfin Suites Hotel vigorously fought the implementation of Measure C, the hotel living wage policy. And as you know, eBase was very involved in passing Measure C that established a living wage and a fair workload for hotel workers. And as you remember, Measure C passed by 54%. And the benefits of the policy are clear, so I'll just share with you a report that we put out back in 2010 looking at the first 5 years of implementation of Measure C, which ultimately generated an estimated $1.2 million wage increases for hotel workers, and that's money that recirculated in the local economy in the midst of the economic recession. So back in 2006, a few months after I started at eBase, we embarked on helping to make sure Measure C was actually enforced. And the hotel, as you have heard, actively fought paying a hotel living wage, and as a result, I and countless other folks participated in picket lines, rallies, to the point where the fight at the Woodfin became synonymous with conflict, boycott, and disarray. And so the situation at the Woodfin happened because one employer thought it didn't have to respect its workers. So I'm here to join the community and workers themselves to say that we should never have to go through that kind of protracted conflict again. The city should never have to go through that kind of conflict again. And ultimately, what happened at the Woodfin Hotel, as you heard, tends to be the rule and not the exception. So we're here to say never again, and to urge you to make it very clear to any new hotel that comes to the city that wage theft and firing immigrant workers after they stand up for their rights under Measure C is unacceptable. And also urge you to ensure strong enforcement of Measure C for all new hotels in Emeryville, and to protect the right of workers to have a fair process to organize a union if they so choose, and to ensure good wages and affordable family health insurance for hotel workers is a standard in Emeryville. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandra Bass. Give it to her. Thanks. Hi.
Hi, my name is Sandra. I am a 28% 2850 union member for the past 14 years. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak as a union member. I have supported other hotels. I know how important it is to have a union hotel, and I know what a city goes through when they don't agree to a union hotel. I was there for the Woodfin. I was there for Occupy Oakland. I've seen the problems the city faced, and I'm hoping Emeryville won't have to go through this. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thank you. Andrew, oh, I'm sorry. Petrozzoli, thank you.
Most people have a hard time. Thank you for letting us speak. I'm Andrew Petrozzoli, and I've worked at the Claremont Resort and Spa for the last 19 years. When I first started working there, the spa was not union and the hotel was. 3 years after I started working, KSL bought the hotel from the Schnitzers and immediately fired all non-union workers and made us reapply for our jobs. And in my interview, the woman said to me, you make a lot of money. You should expect at least a 15% cut in salary. And if you don't like it, find another job. So we had no other choice. We all organized, the group of us. And I said to them, take your job and start looking. Fortunately, I was in a position where I could take the 15 to 20% cut in salary because I could build my business back up because I cut and color hair. So the cut in salary doubled my clientele, made the difference. Then there was rumors that the hotel was the spa was going to be organizing to, go union, to join the union. And the minute they found out about it, they fired 2 managers in the spa because they said they should have picked that up before it got to where we actually approached them to become unionized. It took 5 years. They fought us for 5 years. They fired people. They brought in high-powered lawyers who were staying at the hotel, would interview all the new help that was hired. They flooded the spa with workers. And it only took about 3 weeks before the new workers realized that they needed to join the union fight. I was suspended for going out on the picket line. I left my shift 5 minutes before it ended, and they suspended me. And when I was brought into the office, they said that they would have to investigate this. And I said, how long will it take? And they said, well, we have no idea. I said, fine, here's my phone number in Palm Springs. Call me when you make up your mind. So it took them about 2 days, and I took another 4 days before I came back because I needed to get a ticket back home. So we went through this horrible situation. Fortunately, all of the workers that were union supported us. They went without a contract for 5 years. They paid all the increases in their insurances over the 5 years. Thanks to the community, all the communities, including Emeryville, who supported us. They had food bank drives, they raised money, they helped people pay their rent, pay their taxes, etc. So what we would like to see happen is that this doesn't happen in Emeryville, that workers have the right to organize, and you have the power to help us do that by insisting on all new hotels that come into the area at least give the union a chance, people to organize and become part of the union. It's not very hard to do. It's very simple. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm also on the executive board at Local 2850.
Okay, thank you. Monica Guzman.
Hello. Good evening, Mayor. Thank you, council members. My name is Monica Guzman. I'm a worker at the Oakland Airport. I'm a retail cashier, and I have been a leader in my union. I work with Unite here, 2850. I'm also elected member of our executive board. For the past 2 years, my co-workers and I have been in a big struggle with our employer at the airport. We have gone on strikes and had countless picket lines in front of the terminals at the airport. With a lot of support from the community. When the Woodfin fight was going on, I support the Woodfin workers in the picket lines here in Emeryville. And during the fight at the airport, they have come and support me us along with our many other members of our union. At the same time, right now, about 109 union workers at the airport that do the same job that I do, but with less money, worse benefits, without respect on the job, have been organizing to join our union. Of course, we've been supporting them, but because their companies are refusing to work cooperatively with the union, that has only added to the amount of conflicts at the airport. Part of the problem is that the Port of Oakland didn't make it completely clear with the non-union companies what will be the expectations for how they will behave in if their workers wanted to organize a union. The port actually has a policy of labor peace, but they intentionally failed to make it clear for the non-union stores and restaurants that they were expected to follow. Our fight at the airport has been hard, and it has lasted much longer than we hoped. But like our brothers and sisters at the hotels, we don't give up. We will keep fighting for as many years as it is gonna take at the airport to win justice at the airport. We will support hotel workers in Emeryville if they ever need our support. So this is why I'm here. We want to make sure that if there is any projects here in Emeryville, we want for these workers to have a fair process.
Thank you. Angie Nandine.
Good evening, Emeryville council members and planning commissions people. Thank you for your time and letting us speak. My name is Angie Nandine, and I am a worker at the Claremont Resort Hotel and Spa. I'm also an elected board of the executive board of 2850 Unite Here. And I've come here to tell you that the future of Emeryville is in your hands as members, and what kind of future the people that live in Emeryville want to have. They want to basically be able to afford to live. Every worker should have the right to organize. Every worker should have the right to have a living wage and should be treated with respect and not be treated with intimidation, harassment of any kind, because they choose to want to have something better for their families. I say that the future of Emeryville is in your hands, but it's also in the hands of the workers, of the people that come out to the picket lines. I've worked now for the Claremont Spa for 10 years. I've walked picket lines for 10 years, along with workers that have walked the picket line for 30 years. There's been demonstrations at countless hotels that could have been stopped or didn't have to happen. And that's what we're asking you to please learn from the past of the Woodfin. The Woodfin workers, I walked that picket line many years out there just a little bit from here. And we're asking to remember the Woodfin workers and what they had to go through, and don't make the same mistakes of the past. We're going to help these workers, whoever they are. We need an agreement from you to let the workers organize. It's just a simple thing to do. It's the right thing to do, and that's why a lot of us go out to the picket lines. I've walked the picket line with workers that have been doing it for 30 years, for 40 years. We've won at Castlewood. We won at the Claremont. It was a long struggle to bring the union to my spa, but we won, okay? And so what we're asking you is to please consider that. Don't waste time, don't waste money, don't waste energy. We can put this to better use. So please hear us when we say just let the workers organize. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Adriana Carranza.
Hello, good evening. So my name is Adriana Carranza. I work at the Oakland Airport, and the company that I work for is Annie Ann's Pretzels. It's non-union right now. So my experience has been very unpleasant at the airport. Our boss, our employer, refuses to provide materials that we need to work, like something as simple as oven mitts, uniforms that come from the company that we can't purchase on our own. And, you know, and the past year that I've worked there, many of my coworkers and myself have gotten burns on our arms from not having those materials. And for the past 2 years at the Oakland airport, we've been fighting to form a union. We've struggled with my employer for the past 2 years. We've done countless actions to show how relentless we are and that we will not give up until we have our rights, until we form a union, until they acknowledge that we aren't going to give up. And what we've done is we've walked countless picket lines, we've rallied inside and outside of the terminal, and have gone and lobbied at the Port of Oakland, gone to plenty of their meetings, and, you know, to show them that we won't give up and we're not going to stand down until we form a union, until we have that right to form a union. And we've gotten plenty of support from workers like Monica and 250 plus union workers at the Oakland airport, many casino workers, many cafeteria workers, and many hotel workers and union workers from all over the Bay. Not to mention the Hyatt workers that are here in this room today have gone and walked picket lines with us. And right now there is a labor peace agreement at the Port of Oakland, but unfortunately the port wasn't able to make it clear how our employers were supposed to follow that and respect us and our wishes to form a union. And what that has led to is 2 years of constant strikes, constant picket lines, and constant pushing from myself and a lot of other workers inside of the airport. And I urge you guys to not have the same happen in Emeryville with the hotel workers here. I have walked countless picket lines here as well with Hyatt workers when they were organizing at the former Woodfin. And I will continue my fight at the airport until I get a union, and I will continue to support all of the workers out here at the hotel. So I urge you to please help them out and do the right thing.
Carmelita Cotton.
Good evening, and hold on. Good evening. My name is Carmelita Cotton. I live here in Emeryville for over 10 years now, but I work in Berkeley, DoubleTree Hotel. Way back when I start working at that hotel, we don't have union, and 5 years later, we decided to organize union, and we asked the city council to help us. And the city council, they support the worker all the way until we got a contract. And tonight I came here to support the worker at the Emeryville Woodbine because way back I support them. I on the picket line almost every week. And they also have a hard time to put the union together, and they have struggle. So tonight I'm asking for the city council that if there's any hotel that built here, I want you guys to support the worker and let the worker organize to become union, because it's very hard to work without protection, especially they don't have benefit and respect. So tonight, please, if the new hotel coming, I like the city council to support the worker all the way until they get their contract. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Leanne Allen.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for the time to speak with you tonight. I recognize many of you all. I'm an organizer with Unite Here Local 2850. I was around for the entire Woodfin fight and picketed and organized protests in front of that hotel for over 4 years. I remember distinctly 3 or 4 days after the 580 melted and collapsed in a tragic accident, 50 people got arrested blockading the intersection in front of the Woodfin Hotel. Traffic was, a snarl in Emeryville, and we want to work together to make sure that Emeryville does not become famous for those type of protests, but instead famous for what we all know and love about Emeryville, its beauty and the ability for folks to come and to have a great time here. But the Woodfin fight was a defining struggle for our union, and it showed that we're willing to fight for as long as it takes. And so we're really encouraging all of you to remember that and to think about the customer boycotts and all of the problems that went along with having the Woodfin fight, to make sure that moving forward we don't have any more lawsuits, we don't have any more people being arrested in civil disobedience and in protests. I also remember very clearly myself and many other people from our union making phone calls and walking door to door and asking people to come out to vote for many of you all that are on the council now. I really would like to urge all of you to remember the folks that helped to get you to where you are today, and so that we can continue to work together in the future and make sure that this is a wonderful city. Right now, we have the opportunity to make a real difference for hotel workers moving forward. There's going to be a lot of new development, throughout the East Bay, and especially here in Emeryville, in the short term and in the long term. And we really want to make sure that that development is going to be able to provide for good jobs, for good benefits, and the right for workers to form a union without intimidation, harassment, and without 4 years of picket lines. And I'm very, very confident that we can work together on that. So thank you all for your time this evening. I'm very hopeful that we can make sure that this happens before time runs out.
Thank you. John Rodney.
Good evening, members of the City Council. My name is John Rodney, and in 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, and also most of 2010, I was honored to walk the picket line with the brave workers of the Woodfin Suites Hotel, and the retaliation against those workers, the intimidation, the sending of Immigration and Customs Enforcement to one of the leaders' homes, the unjust firings were truly a national embarrassment. And the bad behavior of that bad actor burdened your hardworking staff tremendously as well. And I think it was a defining moment, not just for the union, but for the broader community in the East Bay. So I think that tonight there's really a tremendous opportunity to work together to prevent another potential national embarrassment from happening right here, and to make it very clear that these kinds of misconduct are not acceptable here in the great city of Emeryville. So I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Tatiana Lamb.
Good evening. Hi. So my name is Tatiana, and I work at Cal State East Bay for Airmark, and we just won the union. And before the union, it was a nightmare working there. We had no respect. I was threatened that if I wasn't working 14 hours, that I was gonna get fired. And we organized and we won. And now the difference is that we get little respect. I mean, not all of it, but we're getting there. Is something. Now my coworkers are not afraid to speak, and I mean, I wasn't there for the Woodfin fight, but I seen what's going on for like the Oakland airport, and I'm so glad we didn't have to go through that fight. And I think everybody deserves a card check and the right to organize the union. It's really important. Thank you.
Thank you. Irma Perez.
Buenas tardes. Antes que nada, quiero agradecerles su tiempo, su valioso tiempo de escucharnos nuestra petición.
Good evening. First of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to us.
Mi nombre es Irma Pérez, yo trabajo en el Courtyard by Marriott en Oakland por 15 años. Cuando nosotros comenzamos a organizar la unión, fue para nosotros bien fácil porque solamente en 3 días la organizamos.
So I work at the Courtyard by Marriott in downtown Oakland, and for us, I've been there for 15 years, and for us, when we decided to organize a union, it was really easy. We had a very easy process to where it only took us 3 days.
Comparándolo con el WUFIN, que pues estuvimos peleando mucho tiempo, estuvimos haciendo marchas y mucho tiempo perdido. Bueno, no perdido porque se logró que la unión entrara, pero muchas veces es más difícil.
And I compare that with the Woodfin, where we were out there supporting them for years, and there was so many years, so much time wasted. But I don't really say wasted because they won in the end, but so much time that didn't have to be spent.
Mi petición es que hotel que se abra aquí en el área de Emeryville, pues que tengan la oportunidad de pertenecer a una unión como lo pertenecemos nosotros. Yo he tenido la experiencia de trabajar con unión y sin unión, y es enorme la diferencia.
So I'm just asking that any hotel that comes in here, the workers should have a chance to choose union, because I've had the experience of working non-union and working union, and the difference for me has been enormous.
Cuando trabajamos sin unión, hay muchísimas violaciones a nuestros derechos laborales, nos pierden los cheques, hasta amenazas con migración, todo lo que a ellos se les ocurre, porque no hay nada que nos proteja.
In my experiences working non-union, there was all sorts of problems. Like our checks would get lost. They would threaten people with immigration. Anything that would occur to management they could do because there was nothing there to protect us.
Bueno, esta es mi experiencia personal y pues a mí sí me gustaría que los nuevos trabajadores que vienen, pues que de algo sirva a nuestra experiencia, a nuestro camino que ya llevamos caminado, para que ellos no pasen por lo que nosotros ya pasamos.
So those are only my own personal experiences, but what I hope is that all the workers that will come ahead of us, that our experiences will have served some purpose, that they won't have to go through everything that we went through.
Cuando las compañías saben que tenemos un contrato que respetar, que tienen ellos que respetar y que pertenecemos a una unión, ellos piensan 2 veces o más de 2 veces para hacer algo indebido y violar los derechos de los trabajadores.
When managers know that we have a union and we have a signed contract that's binding and that we're members of that union, they think twice or sometimes more than twice before violating our rights.
Y cuando ellos saben que no estamos protegidos por nada, hacen lo que sea por violar los derechos de nuestros. Muchas gracias.
And when they know that we don't have any protection, they don't even think twice about violating our rights.
Okay. Scott Donahue.
1420 45th Street. I voted in favor of Measure C years ago, and I will definitely never forget the Woodfin, because it was not just that it passed with resident support, but so many of us in this city were on those picket lines, and I've never seen anything in Emeryville like that, and I've been in Emeryville a long time. I remember over 500 people walking over the 40th Street Bridge, and boy, the guests in the Woodfin for years had a lot of extra noise happening out there. I just don't think that I think we can avoid this in our future. We had a lot of legal costs and a lot of police overtime. I just don't think we have to go through this in the future. I think we can move forward and recognize that the voters in Emeryville support the hotel workers in this city, and they want them to have a living wage and have rights. And I think that we can avoid future expense to our city and move forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Diane Martinez.
Hi there. I'm Diane Martinez. I'm a resident of the Triangle neighborhood. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to me. I've lived in Emeryville only since 2010, but I am in support of the workers of Emeryville's hotels. I think it's in the public interest to make sure that they're treated fairly. I was not witness to the Woodfin struggle, but after hearing all of these stories tonight, I think it's fair to say that it's not something that anyone wants to see a repeat of. So I am adding my voice to those who are asking you to work with the local 2850 to ensure that any new hotels are fair to their workers. Thank you.
Thank you. Judy, come on up.
Good evening. I'm Judy Timmel. I've lived in Emeryville for now 22 years. I am a member of Rural Residents United for a Livable Emeryville, and our members are definitely in support of the workers, the hotel workers. I understand the connection between having hotels and our budget. I hope this is the last hotel, however, but I'm just as concerned about the workers who come to provide services in our city. I want to live in a city that holds high standards for economic justice. I was on the Woodfin picket line, but I hope never to have to do that again here. How could we forget the headache in so many ways? That was Woodfin. It's time for us to be proactive this time, get it right. Do it now before all the plans have been approved. And wouldn't it be great if the workers could also live in our city too? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Ruth?
I'm Ruth Major, resident since 1984 and a member of Residents United. Whoops, sorry, I'll pick that up on my way out. I hope all of the City Council and City staff will work to support the local 2850 in their quest for good jobs and just wages. I hope they will consider how a city and a society deals with employment and supports workers. I think it's a reflection of the moral core of a city and a society. A sense of fairness, a sense of consideration of all members. We make political choices, and I'm hoping that we will make choices that support and provide opportunities to work with local 2850. And I also walk the picket lines.
Thank you. Anyone else? Public comment? Ruth, would you like to? Oh, Donahue, come on up.
Well, I think there's really two reasons why you could vote here tonight or offer support for organized labor at Emeryville's hotels, specifically the hotel that we're talking about here. The two reasons really, one of the reasons is pragmatic, and you've heard a lot of people speaking to the pragmatism of supporting organized labor. That being, we don't want to have the headaches that we had before with the Woodfin debacle. So that's sort of a pragmatic argument, and that's a good argument, I think. But there's another argument for why we should support organized labor here in Emeryville, and that is because it reflects accurately Emeryville residents' values. And how do I know that? How do we know that? We know that's true because of 2005's Measure C. That was the living wage for hotel workers measure. It was a plebiscite. The opposition, the Chamber of Commerce, several people on the council worked really hard to defeat that measure. A lot of money was spent by the Chamber of Commerce and the MPAC, which is their political action committee, which is outside interests, corporate money. And a lot of money was thrown at Emeryville residents. I remember receiving phone calls from paid staffers from operating phone banks, four-color brochures telling me that if we passed Measure C, the living wage for hotel workers, it's going to destroy businesses. Hotels are going to up and leave Emeryville. Well, we know what happened. The people of Emeryville said definitively, in a landslide really, no. to that. Even though they were outspent dramatically, the Yes on C side was outspent dramatically from the corporate-backed No on C. But still, even still, the Emeryville residents saw through those arguments by the No on C, and they voted their values, and they went to the polls and they said, no, we do support organized laborers, and we do support labor in Emeryville, and we do support living wages for hotel workers, even though the cards were stacked against them. So that you can fairly say that represents Emeryville residents' values. We value labor here, even though the power elite may not. The people do. And so I think you should consider that as you consider the approving, moving forward with this hotel. And I think that we should support the Unite Here, organized labor, because, as I said, that's Emeryville residents' values, even though it may not be match the values of every single one of you here on the council. I think you should consider it, though. Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Ruth, you wanted to make a comment?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming who spoke tonight as part of Unite Here. I just wanted to let people know who don't know that I was the only sitting council member who supported Measure C when it was on the ballot. And I am a dues-paying member of IFTPE Local 21 and have just concluded a horrendous contract negotiations where I was without a contract for over 2 years. So I know what the issues and the struggles are. So thank you all for coming.
Anyone else? Jennifer.
I just want to make a comment that last year I got a call from some folks in SeaTac, Washington, and SeaTac was considering a living wage measure on their ballot that was specifically for the airport and hotel workers there. And their call to me was, to see if life continued in Emeryville after Measure C passed. And I said, yeah, actually. I wasn't on the council in 2005, but life goes on. And, I hear from hotel workers that as hard as it's been in Emeryville, under the protection of Measure C, once hotels complied, it's a big difference from working at a hotel in San Ramon or somewhere else. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of having Measure C here on the books. Maybe there's more we could do in the future as well. But thank you for coming tonight and speaking.
Well, I have to tell you, I have union guys that work for me. You probably know that I'm an IBW contractor, and I went in that way about 10 years ago because it's the right thing to do, and my guys make really good money with good benefits. But one of the things, I also serve on the Labor Management Trust Fund, and what we do is we go out and we try to find wage theft, because that's something that's very centered to my heart, because people are being robbed every day when they're working, and I don't believe in that. So I'm fully behind you. I think it's when you start seeing that we had a meeting beforehand about the cost of rents in Emeryville at $2,800 for 2-bed and 1-bath. It's really hard to afford a house, and that we can't have everybody driving in from Sacramento. So we have to do what we can do in this town, and I think with the types of rents that they're getting in these hotels, and what they're going to be expecting the travelers to pay, I think it's only right that the wage is where it needs to be on this issue. So thank you for your hard work, and thank you for coming tonight.
I want to echo some of that, say also that I am a union member as well, American Federation of Teachers, and to say that I appreciate the work that so many of you have done over the years in order to ensure that people can have dignity in their work, right? And the right to organize, the right to speak out. That's fundamentally important. And you've also drawn together a lot of other threads for us this evening, that even though we're talking about card check and the right to organize, that there are other things that we as a council need to keep our eyes on, and one of those things is affordable housing. It's getting harder and harder to keep people close to resources, and that's one of my goals on council, to make sure that we have affordable housing and that we help people to get their needs met in our city, so that we continue to have a city that we can be proud of. So thank you again for the work that you've done in the past, and also for coming here this evening. Thank you.
The measure in CTAC passed, by the way. I forgot to mention that. And the other item has to do with our sustainable community strategy, which Emeryville has heartily endorsed, and having housing near jobs. And if you work in Emeryville, or you work at the Claremont, or in Oakland, you should be able to afford to live near where you work. So I think that's an important element to bring into this. So it's wonderful to hear the support of the council. And again, thanks for coming this evening, taking your time.
Thank you. Okay, on